Welcome back to Counterculture, where we talk about things that are
Culture. That's right. Is that why the show's called Counterculture?
It is.
Oh.
Listen.
I thought this was like for people that were really obsessed with counting numbers.
It is.
This is like like for accountants or something.
Oh, it is. I'm an accountant.
Or a bookkeeper or something like that. This is their culture. So I just realized that. Okay.
This is my world, and I invited you to come into it.
Oh, wow.
Counterculture.
Yes.
Here we go.
All right.
There was a presidential
Debate.
Republican debate last night.
Yes.
Right. I don't want to talk about politics.
No.
It got me thinking. We don't have a king.
No.
We have a president
Who thinks he's a king.
who thinks that he's a king, right? And again, not just the current president, but lots of presidents.
Lots of them
think
have,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
put terms on them
Absolute
like
power corrupts,
leader
absolutely. Yeah.
of the free world, right? Like they really are the emperor, type of idea. If we let it go,
Although they're not supposed to be our leaders, they are to be our servants, but they don't get that.
exactly. But again, as Christians, I love. Thank you for tying that in. We haven't even talked about it, right? As Christians, that's the concept.
Mm-hmm.
We lead by servanthood.
Mm-hmm.
We serve people.
Servant
right?
leadership, yeah.
But somewhere along the line, we've started to convince ourselves that our gift to people, our service to people, is we lead them.
Yeah. I just want to be a blessing in whatever small way I can. The smaller, the better.
But Samuel warned the
this
people
was
about
this was a
leadership.
bad deal. They
right?
should never have done it. Be careful what you ask for. You might just get it.
The people wanted a king.
Yep.
Right? And
we
so
want to be like everybody else.
Samuel has a couple things to say about that, right? So pick it up.
Do you remember the old "You'll be sorry"? The old cartoon that was in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do, actually.
You do.
Verse
You're
10.
old like me.
Read me some 10 through 18.
Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. He said, "This is what the king who will reign over you will do. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariots and horses, and they will run in front of his chariots. Some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and others to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and still others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants. Your men servants and maidservants and the best of your cattle and donkeys will take for his own use. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you will yourselves become his slaves. Then, when that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen, and the Lord will not answer you in that day."
All right, so if you were sitting in a crowd of people and you just heard that, right? What do you think, realistically, knowing you, what do you think your reaction would have been?
This isn't going to be good.
Right. Again, when it gets down to the point where he's going to take your daughters, he's going to make you into slaves, take your property, right? I think a lot of us understand that, listen, if we're going to have a government, if we're going to have people over us and take care of us, it's going to cost us something, right? But if someone came and said, "Hey, they're going to take some of your land," right? How would you react to that?
No, I don't think so. I paid for this. This is mine. But we do it now all the time.
What? Eminent domain?
They just don't, in eminent domain, but also we're paying tax on stuff we're buying and tax on stuff we've already bought and everything else. Yeah, that's a messed up system. It was not supposed to be that way, but it has become that. And because, as I spoke to a politician knocking on my door a couple weeks ago, it's a spiritual problem. It is not it's a human problem in that sense, but it's a spiritual problem because we have quit following God.
Right, so we follow man, and we know, right? So looking at the presidential debate and listening to a bunch of people make all kinds of promises. If I get to be president, I'm going to do this, and this, right? Again, to get the people's vote. Most people understand by now they're not going to do half of what they say they're going to do because they can't. They're not a king. They don't get to just make decisions and do that. They have a lot of power. They can do a lot of things, but they can't keep a lot of their promises. So they can promise you anything, And then they get to say, well, I tried, but it's Congress or it's whatever, right? So again, knowing that, if we know that, right, and we know what God just said, right, about this whole thing, then read me verse 19, because the response of the people to me is baffling.
Yep, but the people refused to listen to Samuel. No, they said, we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and fight our battles.
Now, being counterculture, you could look at this and say, hey, these people were being counterculture. God wanted them to do it this way. They said, nope, we want a king. We want to do it that way, right? Why is it our inclination that even when we're told by God, here's what you want is going to cost you. Here's where this road goes, right? So we look at our culture today. We're not just being warned today. We've been warned for years and years and years about all kinds of things, right?
I saw a meme the other day, or it was like they attributed it to Orwell. I warned you. I warned you.
We've been warned a lot.
Yep.
Why is it that at the end of it, right? Why is it that at the end of it, the response of most of us is this way?
Because we don't want to take responsibility, I think, is one. We don't want to have to do anything ourselves. We want everything handed to us. That's what we've been kind of raised with, especially. It's gradually gone that way. In one sense, you can't blame younger people today who kind of like, well, government should take care of me because someone's taking care of them. I know someone who worked in higher education in the admissions office and in the transfer area, where they were coming in from other colleges. And so these are probably 20-year-old kids.
Yep.
Mom and dad are filling out the paperwork for them. No.
I didn't fill mine out.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Nix. No. You want to do this? Do it. So you have these helicopter parents, all this stuff, and we have glorified some things. We're in football season. Oh, my kid's 5 years old. He's going to be a football star. I doubt it, but good luck with that.
Well, again, it's funny because we declare things over our kids, right? I love it. Your show, Chasing the Wind, right? We chase the Holy Spirit. We chase what God has for us.
We're supposed to be, yes.
Yeah. Here's a good Chasing the Wind. How many of those parents actually sought God about declaring that their kid is going to be a football player?
Seek God? How many? Well, so here's the thing. So I had a and I'm thinking about this now because I'm closer than I was before. I had a fellow pastor of mine several years ago. He and his wife were going to retire within like a year. And he's like, well, we're praying about where we're supposed to retire. So many pastors don't pray about, well, Lord, where would you want me to go? We go where we want to go. I want to go where it's warm, whatever the deal is. Maybe God has a different place for you because it's different ministry.
What about just asking God on a regular basis every day? God, where do you want me to go?
Yes, exactly. What do you have for me today, Lord? That's one of my prayers every day is, God, what do you have for me today? What are we doing? Show me who. Show me what. Today, today is what we all...
Show me who.
I remember Gloria Gaither, when she was at Olivet, came in for the O Award. It was a big deal. And I remember her sharing, it was just powerful. I didn't remember too much from chapel, but I do remember her saying, God's will for your life is God's will for today. And it was so many people like, well, what is God's... Well, and first of all, we got to understand that God's will is more about our character development than it is about what we do.
Man, now you're meddling.
I am. I am.
Right? I think that.
So, but what does God want me to do? I mean, I know people that they pray about what shirt they're supposed to wear. They crying out loud, just put something over you, please. There's some days I think it matters, and I think some days God says, I don't care, just put something on. No one wants to see that white belly of yours, Mark.
I love what you just said because I think that's so important. You just said some days it matters, some days, some moments it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, is there the place where asking God, what should I wear to this matters? Yeah, I could give you a whole bunch of examples of why that would be important, right? But sometimes God's just like, just make a choice.
Yeah, just do something. Yeah.
Right? Like I just told you, get dressed. Right?
Yes.
If you're going to be home all day, like be you. Right?
Yes.
Those are the things. Good. Again, we have to be willing to listen to what God has to say. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in a culture where we know where the road is going, and we still say to God, "Yeah, I want to do the road anyway."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Wrap this up for me. Tell me, right? What's God's response? The God that you and I serve. What is God's response to this whole thing? Right? He warns the people. Here's what's going to happen. He tells Samuel, tell the people what's going to happen. Samuel does it. The people still say, we don't care. We don't want you, God. We want a king. Right? What's God's response when we do that? Does he get in the way and say, oh, no, sorry, you cannot do this. You don't want to do this.
Well, he does often tell us that.
Yep.
And sometimes he gives us signs, this is not something you probably want to do.
Yep.
And then at some point, because he created us with free will, that he says, okay, one of the hardest things I experience as a pastor is when I see, especially young people, choosing other things other than God. And I know they're bad choices, and I've got to let them make those choices. Jesus let the rich young ruler go.
Yeah.
He didn't force him. God will not force us to do the right thing.
Yep. So
because is that love? If I said to my wife, "You will love me," I'm going to be sleeping with one eye open. Okay, because it's like me, no matter what, you will like it no matter what. It's not going to work, and that's why God, the system couldn't be. That's why you're going to get me down a path here that I probably shouldn't go. But this is where I really believe God's omniscience is not about knowing every decision I'm going to make. He knows what decisions I make because He's in real time. He's not in my time. I'm saying, people say, well, God knew you were going to make that decision. Well, if He knew I was going to make that decision, then I had to make that decision. Otherwise, something's wrong with the equation. Because then it's like, well, then I had to do it.
Or he'd be wrong.
But now, if you look at it, that God knows the decision. Let's change the tense. God knows that knew I was going to make that decision because He was there when I made it. And it didn't surprise Him. No, I have people argue with me that, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. I get it. To me, it's like I use the example of my wife and I go to Five Guys, and they have a little kiosk-y thing there you can pick out. We get one drink because we're cheap, and I will share a straw with my wife. Not with that one. I draw the line with other people. But anyway, she'll say, "Which Fanta Zero do you want?" Zero because all the other stuff in it. And they'll have like peach, they have lime, they have orange, they have strawberry, they have, and I'll, why did she say that? Is she omniscient? No, she just knows her husband well enough that's probably going to do. But I can throw her a zinger sometimes and say, how about we go Coke Zero or Pepsi Zero?
Or Cherry Pepsi Zero.
Yeah. Anyway. It doesn't mean my wife. No, it just means she knows me well enough. Does God know me? So I think that's where omniscience. I heard Stephen Seaman say this. He's a professor at Asbury. In one of my doctoral classes, he came in as adjunct, and he said, I think omniscience is not so much God knowing what choices I'm going to make, because He gives me the freedom to make that choice, but the fact that He knows me better than I know myself. I just preached on that last Sunday with Nathaniel. How do you know me? Actually, the proper translation is, where do you know me?
Yeah.
And Jesus says, well, I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you. We always think, he saw him under the fig tree. But we forget that Jesus heard Philip call him.
Yep.
And Jesus wasn't there. Jesus knows what's going on because He's in real time. The unseen realm is different. It does not have... it is not on time. See, it's timeless. And God is not on our little chronological time. That's why we call it Kairos time, God timing.
I think that's the key, right? The key to the whole thing is I don't know what it is to be outside of time.
Right.
So I have no idea how God does
it
what
baffles
He does.
me. It baffles me, right.
So
when I think He's late, don't you see what's going on here? And God says, yeah, I do, but don't worry about it. I know what's going on.
I'm on time.
Yeah, I'm on time. I'll be right there.
I'm on time. I like that.
I'm on my time.
Well, we're gonna end it right there. We could go a whole bunch of different ways. So we will see you next time. Counterculture.
Grace and peace.